we see in worship. We worship as if God is waiting for our praises. Does God need us to magnify the Creator of heaven and earth? God needs us to change our minds, to have the image of God who is that Creator. So often wonder, melodies are good, songs are good, some came from the bars in the old days, both in hymns and now in songs or in choruses. Some of the lyrics are good, some are just plain awful. I have problems, I have a great deal of problems with our old hymns. I never used them. How do you like this one? There is a fountain filled with blood, drawn from Emmanuel's veins, and sinners plunge beneath the flood and lose all their guilty stains. The dying thief rejoice to see the fountain in his day. Then there may I go wild as he wash my sins away. What a bloody mess. Can you imagine blood all over? And you sing that? John Newton is a slave trader. No, not so much a slave trader, but he was the captain of the slave ships traveling from Africa to the New World. And if you hear or remember stories of those slaves on the galleys, crowded, pulling their oars, John Newton was working as a slave captain. But he was also a music composer. He composed many hymns. I'm sure at the time when he composed the hymns, the church of his day had difficulty singing them. And John Newton not only became a slave trader, he also became a clergyman, Episcopalian pastor. But it was much later, in his later years, that he broke a long silence on the subject of slavery, which he obviously approves, and also enjoyed the songs that have grown out some of it of his experience as a captain of a slave ship. He broke his silence when he produced this book, pamphlet, Thoughts About the Slave Trade, in which he described the horrific conditions of the slave boats during the passage across the oceans and apologized for a confession which comes too late. It will always be a subject of humiliating reflection to me that I was once an active instrument in a business at which my heart now shudders. Fortunately, even though he was late, he redeemed himself, and we can enjoy associating the hymns with him, including the one, Amazing Grace, recognizing our common human wretchedness and the transformation that can take place when we turn to Christ our Lord. John and Charles Wesley, the founders of Methodism, is well known as composer of hymns, thousands of hymns, but he actively participated in the struggle of liberation of the workers in his time, of those who had problems of drunkenness. So the hymns of Charles Wesley was the way in which he communicated the message. and initiated the revival movement in the 18th century. So the hymn book, the lyrics were more important than melodies because they were the gospel messages of transformation and liberation. It was a manual of Christian teaching. It was a textbook on theology. And this is what the music is supposed to do. Let us examine the familiar story of the transfiguration of Jesus as to man's response to worship of the divine. I'm only trying to indicate in the story of transfiguration how when they saw the revelation before them, the vision of Jesus, Moses, and Elijah, the first thought that this impetuous Peter, the first immediate reaction was to build 3 booths, one for each one of them. And I'm sure this is a sentiment which is not only shared by James and John, but many, many Christians down to the century. We build the magnificent cathedrals, the great houses of worship, and we just want to spend our time worshiping God. But Jesus is expecting something much more than they ever realized. Not a booth, an edifice to commemorate an extraordinary religious event. Christ calls us, as he called Peter, James, and John, not to erect a monument, even for worship, but to execute God's mission. And so down to the valley of need, of human need, they went. For God entrusted with them and with us a mission high fulfilling, a calling high demanding. As we worship, we do not just get a good feeling and go away chewing the cud of how nice we feel, or basking in the sun under the shade of a coconut tree along the beach. We are to be up and above God's work in the world, to be the salt and the light in the transformation of people and of society. What do we see in worship? Must worship be as if God does not hear us or know us? Is worship just phrases which are empty, or praises upon our lips? What do you see about yourself, about this self, this person that I am? If you're like me, we run away with a lot of things to do. We're very active. We don't like to see ourselves. We look in the mirror and say, well, am I that person? No. We wear masks. Straight and gay we wear masks. Well, we find it very difficult to accept ourselves, and we act out. We wear different masks, participating in different kinds of activity, religious and secular. We are really afraid to face our true self, our authentic self. And that is why we end up with great disturbance, psychological confusion,